almost forgot, it's a permanent part of me. I'm a nurse, so I wear these all day, 14 hours. Good morning and welcome. And I'm not used to that. Please say that again. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond. My name is Suzanne Short, and I'm honored to be serving this community on its board of directors. Welcome to those here and those who are tuning in from near and far. We are grateful to be able to connect with you. If you are a visitor here today, we are so glad that you found us. We welcome you and thank you for spending time with us. We are a community committed to being deliberately diverse, fully inclusive, and want you to know that whoever you are, you belong here. Our church was begun in 1833 as a liberal Christian community. We are now a community of many faith journeys and beliefs, guided not by a creed, but by a covenant to uphold shared principles marked by love, respect, and justice. Our community continues to work together to put our UU principles and values into action and to build beloved community and serve the purpose of justice for all here in the Richmond community and beyond. We welcome you to live these principles with us as you continue your spiritual journey and stand together with us on the side of love. If you are a visitor here today or new to Unitarian Universalism and would like to learn more about our faith and our community, we invite you to check out our website, join our Facebook group, and reach out by email at membership@richmonduu.org. We hope you will join us at our virtual coffee hour following this morning's service through a separate Zoom link available in this morning's email and on our Facebook site. Coffee hour provides a time to connect with fellow church members, visit with friends new and old, and if you are new to First UU or a visitor with us today, a chance for us to get to know you better. To stay informed of important news and the many, let me emphasize many, activities occurring within our church community, I encourage church members and visitors to tune in to our Sunday morning services 5 to 10 minutes early to catch the rolling announcements and to subscribe to our YouTube channel to view past services and also check out the various editions of First News Weekly each week. I have a few announcements. The membership needs ushers and greeters to help us in our coming back live. You don't have to have a long resume. You don't have to have a lot of technical skills. You just need to be able to smile and say good morning and welcome. So if you would be interested in helping us with that, please reach out at membership@richmonduu.org. Immediately after today's service, in person, the Leadership Development Committee will be hosting a Ministerial Search Committee informational forum. Childcare will also be provided. Additional Zoom information forums will be held on Wednesday, April 20th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, April 23rd at 10 a.m. Check your email later this afternoon for additional information about these forums. While it would be so joyful, so joyful to hear all of your beautiful voices in song this morning, we would like to continue to be mindful of the public space, and we ask that you hum or sing along in your mind. Again, welcome to this joyful but very brisk Sunday morning, made sacred by all of us being together, worshiping, and sharing our time with each other.
Good morning. I am today's Generosity Ambassador, and I'm here to tell you why I give to First UU. I could tell you that it is my habit, out of tradition, training, or even guilt, that I give to First UU. And while there are indeed echoes of those motives in my giving to this faith community, I don't contribute to First UU for those reasons alone. I give because I believe in the mission and the vision of the Unitarian Universalism. I became a member here after several years of of a hiatus from organized religion because I was moved by the principles, the progressive theology, and I appreciated so much Reverend Jean's service to the Richmond community and to this congregation. I wanted to join this fellowship. I give because I want to see the mission expand and grow, and to know that what I give helps this community to do good work in Richmond and therefore in the world. As of this weekend, we have raised $380,000 of our total, which is $840,000, that we need to keep this community going for another year. 95 generous households of the total 400 households have pledged, and we still have $560,305 households to go. So if you need an incentive for pledging to this campaign, we have a party that's going to be happening at the end of the month. And it will also be to thank those who have already pledged, and for First UU and being generous. The team is throwing a generous tea party, or a generosity tea party. So get your pledges in, save the date for Sunday, April 24th, following worship, when we will enjoy a tea party with finger food and music in our courtyard, and you won't want to miss it. Your pledge is your ticket to the special event. And to those who have already pledged, thank you. And to those of you who will pledge soon, thank you. Your generosity is what keeps this community alive.
Good morning. Good to see everybody today. I'm Lauren Levewood, and I am honored to serve as your intern minister here at First UU Richmond. My pronouns are she or they. I'd like to invite us to begin our time of worship by connecting with our bodies, with the inner landscape of our physical home. So please close your eyes if you'd like. Take a breath if that feels good. Get a little cozy in your chair. Feel the pull of gravity hugging you towards Earth. Earth is never going to let you go. Inhale, exhale, and breathe out a prayer of gratitude for this earthly home that your body resides on, and say thank you for all the moments, all the breaths that Earth has carried you and your body through this life. All the moments and all the eons that she has supported all life's existence. There would be no life without her. Inhale. Exhale and breathe all that you hope will come from this time of worship together today. Inhale. Exhale a prayer for those you worship with. Breathing in, connecting with this land that we are gathered on. Breathing out, knowing that the land sustains us day in and day out. That this land that we now occupy, that our schools and homes and gardens and grocery stores and church building occupy, this land we are grateful for, is also land that deserves our respect. Inhale, exhale, and offer your respect to this land and its original people, the Powhatan Confederacy, and their descendants. May we offer our acknowledgement of this land as a counter-response to the legacy of erasure enacted by settler colonialism, and as a reminder of the need for continued awareness, allyship, and repair. Inhale. Exhale. And slowly opening your eyes, coming back into this room or wherever you are, this time and place, taking a look around the room. Maybe giving a smile. We can still see smiles through our masks, yeah? We can still tell. It's good to be together today. Welcome to our time of worship.
So we light the chalice, and the words from Wendell Berry. The care of the earth is our most ancient and most worthy, and after all, our most pleasing responsibility. To cherish what remains of it and to foster its renewal is our only hope.
Lord, if I find favor in your sight, Lord, travel near or far for your glory. I would do anything just to see you, to behold you as my King. For your glory, I would do anything just to see you, to behold you as Father, if I find favor in your sight. Lord, please, hear my heart. I'm desperately waiting to be where you are. Across the highest depths, and I travel near or far. And for your glory, I would do anything just to see you, to behold for your glory. I will do anything just to see you, to behold. I wanna be where you are. Gotta be where you are. Wanna be where you are. Gotta be where you are. Wanna be where you are. Gotta be where you are. Wanna be where you are. Gotta be where you are. I wanna be where you are. Gotta be where you are. Wanna be where you are. Gotta be where you are. Lord, it's where you are. He's where you are. I wanna be where He's where you are. Wanna be where you are. Love is where you are. Wanna be where you are. For your glory, I would do anything just to be you, to behold you as my King. I wanna be where you
Thank you so much for that beautiful music. Really puts me right in the feeling of the moment. And now we are going to, Faith and I will read a responsive reading for you. A planet is born, a spark ignites, something completely new comes into being.
We give thanks for the mystery and miracle of life.
A waterfall descends, a rainbow arcs through the sky, the ocean opens to an endless horizon.
We give thanks for the mystery and miracle of beauty.
The stars pierce our hearts. Peace envelops us. We are blessed.
We give thanks for the mystery and miracle of wonder.
In the midst of pain, we find our way to hope and restoration.
We give thanks for the mystery and miracle of healing.
In the midst of fear, we do what is right and speak our truth in faith.
We give thanks for the mystery and miracle of courage.
In our small place on this planet, we see Earth's great need and offer ourselves in Earth's care.
We give thanks for the mystery and miracle of compassion.
We gather in community, in relationship, in friendship, and we cherish each other.
We give thanks for the mystery and miracle of love.
And now I invite you to close your eyes again for a moment. Pause and be still for our time of silent meditation. And now let us pray. Great and loving Spirit, God of many names, source of all that moves within and between all things, thank you for your presence here with us today and always. Source of life, open our hearts, crack us open to truth. We know that humanity is out of alignment with Earth, and we know this truth needs to change. We know the truth of the love in our heart, in our collective heart. And we pray that that love might guide us, that the Spirit of life and love might guide us to make these needed changes. We know the future of Earth and all beings, life as we know it, depends on these changes. Source of all, grant us perspective, help us see the wide-angled lens and the tiny details. Grant us the perspective that supports our right alignment with Earth and with life, life that is so precious because it wakes us up in the morning and keeps us going. Grant us the perspective that enables us to respect the web of life that we are but a small part of. Source of all, help us to take up the right amount of space in this web. Guide us in tending our global footprints, that we may use less and conserve more of the precious natural resources that are here, and empower us to take up space where it matters, at the microphones and in the voting booths. May our voices and our ballots echo with the fury of love, and may this love blanket and wrap the entire world until she is healed, until we are all whole again. Please, please help us. Help us as people of today, that we might be in right alignment for the generations to come, that we might act in love. May it be so, and may we be among those to make it so. Amen.
Each month, we share our offering plate with a charitable organization whose mission is in alignment with our UU values. This month, we share our plate with the International Rescue Committee, or the IRC. The mission of the IRC is, quote, help people whose lives and livelihoods are shattered by conflict and disaster, including the climate crisis, to survive, recover, and regain control over their future," end quote. As such, the IRC responds to the world's worst humanitarian crises, such as the current crises in Ukraine, Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, and elsewhere. The IRC was founded in 1933 at the call of Albert Einstein, who was that same year a refugee himself from Nazi Germany. Today, the First UU Church is working with the IRC in Richmond to welcome at least one and possibly two refugee families from Afghanistan. Now, we don't have a physical offering plate to pass, but we do have a virtual one, as illustrated by the 4 ways to give on the screen in front of you. I invite you to choose your preferred way to give from the options listed there. The offering will now be taken and gratefully received.
We can give it up for him one more time. So good. I didn't know what I was missing during all the virtual worship without you all. It's so glad to be back together. So I am going to introduce a series of homilies today. We're going to have it a little mixed up and different. And first, I'm going to tell you a story about why we've chosen this sermon arc. So 10 or 15 years ago, I was introduced to a meditation practice created by a man named Rabbi Alan Lew through his book, Be Still and Get Going. Now, Rabbi Alan Lew is a really interesting guy. He actually is the only rabbi that I know of that started a synagogue connected to a Zen center, a Zen Buddhist meditation center in San Francisco. So this meditation practice weaves together the tradition of Zen Buddhism with Judaism, merging the wisdom of both spiritual teachings and anchoring them with meditation. And I really love this practice. I have to say it's helped me in moments of anxiety and confusion. It's helped to alleviate difficult moments and clear my thoughts and keep me going when I've felt overwhelmed in life. So the Be Still and Get Going meditation, it's actually derived very simply from a passage in Exodus, from a conversation between Moses and God. This conversation happens between Moses and God just as the Hebrew people are reaching the lip of the Red Sea after they have fled Egypt. This group of people has just fled Egypt where they were enslaved, and the sea is before them like a wall of water. The Egyptian army is pursuing them at their back, and they feel caught. They can't see a way forward. They can't see a way out of the predicament that they're in. And actually, some of them are like, you know what, Moses, I said it would be better to be a slave in Egypt to be in this situation. You know, they're really feeling it. What are we going to do now? So I'd like to ask you, Rabbi Lew applies this situation to other life situations, and I'm going to invite you to do what he does. Have you ever felt like there was no way out of a situation you were in? At a total dead end, the sea before you, mammoth and looming, wanting to escape something in your life. Wanting to escape something in life, but not perceiving a clear way forward. Maybe you've tried. I know I've felt like this before, multiple times, and I know I'm not alone. In fact, we can experience this kind of thing together, not just individually. In fact, this story in Exodus wasn't about individuals at all. It was about a group of people, although our individual problems are certainly worthy of our care. But this story is about a collective journey to freedom. So here's another question. Maybe the question this morning should be, have we ever felt something like this? At a total dead end? Have we belonged to a group, or is the collective humanity perhaps facing the sea of a great problem before us? What challenges do we face? What are we up against that we need to move through as a people together today? How do we apply the medicine of this story to the story of us? So the Be Still and Get Going meditation has 5 parts, and it's based on 5 verbs between this conversation between Moses and God. And it's in this exchange of words that enables Moses and then the Hebrew people to move forward despite their fear, despite the obvious obstacle ahead, and their forward motion parts the sea. and a path is cleared for their collective future. So the first verb is al tira'u, don't be afraid. Then hityatzvu, collect yourselves, and uru, see. See in taharishun, be still. Then, from that stillness, the yisa'u, move. Just get going. So I'll say that again. You might want to close your eyes and bring to mind an obstacle from your own life or a collective crisis from our shared world as you listen to the 5 movements of this meditation. 1, don't panic. Don't be afraid. 2, collect yourself. Gather all of your scattered thoughts and feelings into your center. And 3, see. See things as they truly are. See reality as it is, the wholeness of it. And 4, be still. And 5, from that stillness, now move. Just get going. If your eyes are closed, I invite you to take a breath, slowly open your eyes, and receive the next series of short homilies. You'll hear Reverend Dr. Harris and I explore the elements of this meditation in an arc in response to the climate crisis, so that we might wade forward collectively through those rising waters.
There are more waters rising, yes I know, yes I know. There are more waters rising, yes I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to me. There are more waters rising, yes I know, yes I know. There are more waters rising, yes I know.
The first arc, don't panic. A reading from The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. When apparent stability disintegrates, as it must, God is change. People tend to give in to fear and depression, to need and greed. When no influence is strong enough to unify people, they divide, they struggle, one against one, group against group, for survival, position, power. They remember old hates and generate new ones. They create chaos and nurture it. They kill and kill and kill until they are exhausted and destroyed, until they are conquered by outside forces, or until one of them becomes a leader. Most will follow. Or a tyrant, most fear. Many of you know that I am a co-director for Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, and our mission is to collaborate with people of faith and conscience to grow healthy communities by advancing climate and environmental justice. Our daily work forces us to face that we are living in an ever-expanding crisis. We discourse with scientists and legislators, faith leaders, and others on the topic daily. And one of the pitfalls of doing this work is that we see the indifference and resistance to taking the urgent action that's necessary to address the scale of the issue. We know that it is time to act by retooling our economy to combat the disastrous consequences of climate change. And we see politicians and corporations who know better, but continue to undermine, to pervert, and to derail progress on creating a sustainable future for all of us. One of our Generation Z staff shared the other day with us just how stressed she felt about thinking about the future. She said she was teetering on despair and anger and panic about whether a livable future will be possible for her generation. Knowing what she knows about how bad things are while watching those with power do nothing about it, right? Just dithering and who are dropping the ball and who outright lie, keeps her up at night. She describes her generation's coming-of-age story as a dystopic nightmare. Gen Zers watched their dreams evaporate as the pandemic ushered in. They are witnesses to a paralyzing partisanship in Washington. The COVID-19 pandemic has shrunk their space to grow, to explore, to adventure. They are looking for apartments with a 14% rise in housing costs. They saw no meaningful response when Russia destroyed Syria. And now they watch this same terrorism in Ukraine. As a Black woman, she continues to be confronted by the double jeopardy of racism and sexism. And when she thinks about all this, she feels panicked. She is worried that our country, her country, will not make the necessary investments to ensure her future. She sees few political leaders passing legislation adequate to the problem. Gen Zers see too many in the energy production sector making excuses and shifting responsibility. Instead of swiftly transitioning away from burning fossil fuels for energy production, they promote individual action, all while knowing no amount of personal effort will ever be enough. Panic can be an overwhelming fear, which can destroy self-control and the ability to think clearly or to act decisively. The state of panic erodes confidence in the present and in the future. Panic and extreme fear can make it impossible to assess reality fully. Panic often causes one to be reactionary rather than responding in a balanced way. My colleague certainly has good reasons for her fear. After all, she has more life ahead of her than I and many of you today have in front of us. After all, she is young and looking for her future. And that future is fraught with obstacles and threats and events that we could never have imagined when we were 22. This generation has a very different political landscape to navigate than boomers like me. They cannot take for granted what we knew at our coming of age, that it will hold throughout their lifetimes. They can't even depend that this nation will hold itself together. Their challenges are war, diseases, severe weather events, mass species die-offs, increased poverty, and crushing educational debt. And we must acknowledge the source underlying my colleague's struggle. a critical work of science fiction writer written by Octavia Butler, provides insight, and I read a poem from this book, The Parable of the Sower. It tells the story of Lauren Alamina. Lauren, during a political and economic and environmental upheaval of a time much like our own, seeks to survive and build a new future. She finds no leader trustworthy or wise enough for her to follow. She finds her parents' religion insufficient when she begins her journey and develops for herself and for the people who she gathers to her a new faith and a new community. My colleague is suffering from what we must call a failure of faith. And I'm not criticizing her or even her generation. Instead, it's a critique of the faith of her parents' generation, my generation. Like Lauren, her parents' faith is insufficient for what she is now facing. A friend of mine, Corey D.B. Walker, says churches are in what he calls an institutional relevancy crisis. The church has failed to speak coherently about the challenges of our time. Faith institutions have been too silent, too late, too individualistic, too tied to big corporations and money and leisure and luxury to speak to the collapse of democracy around the world and even at home. The faith community's resistance to change, its failure to change to meet the challenges of violence, corporate greed, climate change, white supremacy, the rise of autocracy makes it impotent to help us deal with our deteriorating civilization. Lauren Alomina concludes that she needs a new understanding of the universe. She must embrace change as the ultimate reality.
There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more fires burning, they will find their way to me. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know.
There are more waters rising, more fires burning, more mountains falling. We know this. And yet we need to find a way to wade through the waters, walk through the fires, and rebuild the mountains, move through our fear. The next moment in this arc is about collecting ourselves. And the Hebrew verb is almost like construction, pulling in all of those things that are scattered and creating something with integrity. I like to think of it as pulling in my thoughts and feelings into my center, where my vertebrae give me that core alignment, but we can also think about it collectively in how we organize ourselves. But it begins with perspective. Acknowledging reality as it truly is, in addition to maybe the false nightmare fears or things that we're afraid of but that haven't happened yet, acknowledging all of the options, all of the opportunities that exist for our future, and the internal motivation that's moving us forward. For me, it helps to think about getting to that core of love as a motivator, collecting and finding that center. But it first begins with acknowledging reality as it truly is, and while panic might not help, it doesn't help to believe a fairy tale about the world we live in. It won't change reality if we hide from it or avoid it. Hide and seek is not a game we can win with climate change or the destruction of our planet and our planet's people. So let's collect ourselves, gathering together the strands, weaving a basket together, maybe including hope, but really weaving together a basket of truth and wading through the waters together. Because the climate crisis, it's real. The earth we love is in peril. And that second point in the arc, after collecting ourselves, is to see reality as it truly is. It's only from acknowledging the truth and looking into truth's eyes that we will be able to grasp her hands and move forward into the future in love. And love is also something that is true. In her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, biologist and citizen of the Potawatomi Nation, Robin Wall Kimmerer, writes of Wiskok Gokpinagan weaving a black ash basket. And this basket weaving story has medicine for those of us who aspire to weave well-being for land and people. The first 2 rows, she says, when you begin to weave a basket are the hardest. You're weaving over and under, and the splints of wood are resisting. Sometimes a neighboring pair of hands can help anchor them in place until you get to the second row, and that's still a wrestle. Even when you clamp them in place, it still comes loose and slaps you in the face with a wet end. It's a mess of unruly pieces, and nothing like a whole finished basket. But then something magical happens when the third row comes together. And it's only after this third row, which Kimmerer calls the spirit row, that the basket begins to take hold and the parts begin to come whole. The collecting might take a while, but it's worth it. She says, in weaving well-being for land and people, we need to pay attention to the lessons of these 3 rows. The first row she names as ecological well-being, and this is the ground on which all things rest and all things must have to thrive. And the second row is our human material welfare. So the earth and then our place in it, but these 2 rows alone, remember, the basket's still in chaos. The third row, the spirit row, is needed to anchor the first 2 and begin to make the basket whole. And she says the spirit row, quote, goes by many names: respect, resilience, all my relations. The 3 rows represent recognition that our lives depend on one another, human needs being only one row in the basket that must hold us all. In relationship, the separate splints become a whole basket, sturdy and resilient enough to carry us into the future. And friends, we cannot carry the future and the world with a basket that's woven only with us. That's not going to stay together. or even just us and the earth we love. We need help. We need something greater. So we get to the next place in the ark. We've decided not to panic, collected ourselves, seen reality as it is, and now it's the moment of being still. This is the moment when we feel the Spirit row, yes? Be still. Be still and know that to weave this basket, we must help one another. We must acknowledge our needs. We can't do it alone. We must be honest about the loose, wet whips that are hard to pin down. We must sit and be still with the truth of the basket we're weaving. We must reach out for help and give ourselves when it's needed. We must wade through the chaos until we make it to the Spirit row.
There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. There are more mountains falling, they will find their way to me. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know.
And so we come to the final phase of our arc. Get going. In order to rise from its own ashes, a phoenix first must burn. In an attempt to provide comfort, wisdom, and relief to my colleague, I invoked Lauren Almina's experiences from the book, Parable of the Sower. She too was a young woman who should have had the world at her fingertips, the easy life. Leadership was thrust upon her when she was least ready to face it. She had to grow up and create a new community out of the ash heap that the universe handed to her. She learned the lessons the earth was ready to teach. Your teachers are all around you, all that you perceive, all that you experience, all that is given to you, all or taken from you, all that you love or hate, need or fear, will teach you if you will learn. God is your first and your last teacher. God is your harshest teacher. Subtle, demanding, learn or die. My gentle suggestion to her was that she and her generation have a decision to make. They can shake off the panic, face the challenges, and en masse take over leadership of this world as they are being called, pushed, thrust into doing. They are smart enough. They understand the issues. They are practical. They are sensitive. They care. They have skills. And their only other option is to give into their fear and wait for the disaster. When Lauren realized that her father's faith could not provide her guidance or wisdom or courage or the answers to address the madness of the world she was gifted, she recreated her own faith out of the ashes of his. The faith she created provided her what she needed to create a new community. The universe sent her others who were willing to learn, believe, and to survive with her. This new community committed themselves to creating a different future, one stripped of the naivety that caused the earlier panic. They now knew that it was in their hands to shape destiny. They were no longer subject to a faith that told them to simply accept their fate. Instead, they embraced the principle and to give and to take what the universe had to offer. They began to shape a future that deeply respected the rhythms, the ecosystems, the principles of the earth. They called themselves Earthseed because they rightly placed themselves in those systems and in those rhythms. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. The truth is that my colleague is already affecting change. She serves as our water campaign lead, and we were honored to see the resolution that she helped write declare water accessibility and affordability a human right in Virginia in 2021. It was only one step, but an important step against privatization of water in this state and ensuring that everyone, poor, old, black, brown, white, rural, urban, can afford water. The civic engagement outreach she does is to encourage civic involvement among her peers. And she works every day to dismantle white patriarchal supremacy embedded within the environmental policies of corporate entities attempting to exploit those very same communities. She is touching God and changing outcomes. The key is for her and all who will live in a just world to know that the seemingly small ripple they make in the pond today will reverberate for many days to come. Respect God. Pray working. Pray learning. Planning. Doing. Pray creating. Teaching. Reaching. Pray working. Pray to focus your thoughts. Still your fears. Strengthen your purpose. Respect God. Shape God. Pray working. Get going. Knowing that we and you have a place and a purpose that empowers us to get going to do the good work of shaping God and shaping our universe. For there is no end to what a living world will ask of you. Create no images of God except the images that God has provided. They are everywhere, in everything. God is change. Seed to tree, tree to forest, rain to river, river to sea, grubs to bees, bees to swarm, from one many, from many one, forever uniting, growing, dissolving, forever changing. The universe is God's self-portrait. Don't panic. Gather yourself. Embrace change. Be still, but get going.
I will wade through the waters, this I know, I will wade through the waters, yes, I know. I will wade through the waters when they find their way to me. I will wade through the waters, yes, I know. Yes, I know. I will wade through the waters, yes, I know. I will walk through the fires, yes, I know. This I know. I will walk through the fires, yes, I know. I will walk through the fires when they find their way to me. I will walk through the fires, yes, I know. This I know. I will walk through the fires, yes, I know. I will rebuild the mountains, yes, I know. This I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains when they find their way to me. I will rebuild the mountains, yes, I know. This I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know.
And we now have made our way around the ark, and we extinguish our chalice with these words. There is no end to what a living world will ask of you, by Octavia Butler. And response, there is much good work to be done by every one of us, and we must begin to do it. Wendell Berry.
Friends, may your soul find the stillness of a reflecting pool, and may you know the truth and keep it good company. As you move into the coming days and weeks ahead, may your soul stir with connection to 1,000 generations. May you move on this planet with tender, loving care. May you be motivated to clear the underbrush and choking vines of all oppression. May we realize our interconnectedness to one another and all beings. May we never cease to honor this incredible, awe-inducing, luminous web of life that we are so privileged to be a part of. May you go in peace. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.